So today we're going to talk about whether or not Jalen Hurts would be the presumptive starter at Oklahoma if this was 2018 and not 2019. And I think this is prescient. And I'll tell you why, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to talk about whether or not Jalen Hurts would have the job if Kyler Murray was still here. And I kind of want to walk out my thinking on this. And I'm going to take my time with it, or as much as I can, because I know that, well, excuse me. Ugh, whoa. Come on, man. Oh, man. This is going to rub some people the wrong way. So, I think that Jalen Hurts would have been the presumptive starter in 2018 when Kyler Murray was competing with Austin Kendall for the job in 2018 if Jalen Hurts was, in fact, a Sooner. And I say that because if you look at the way Jalen Hurts ended up at Oklahoma, and you looked at the way Kyler Murray ended up at Oklahoma, and you judge them based on their backup seasons, because this is also really interesting in that Kyler Murray is backing up Baker Mayfield and did a heck of a good job doing it, completing 18 of 21 passes, 359 yards, like 3 TDs. And he had one dynamic run against West Virginia for like 66 yards, like first play from scrimmage, almost took it to the house, showed everybody the kind of quarterback that he would be in 2018. But you'll remember, in that spring of 2018, he didn't really separate from Austin Kendall, which I think says more about Austin Kendall than it does Kyler Murray based on the way that Kyler Murray played in the 2018 season. And one of the reasons I thought he was going to be the presumptive starter in 2019 until Lincoln Riley started serenading Jalen Hurts about what kind of a teammate he was, how impressed he was with how he conducted himself at Alabama. And, you know, I was kind of breadcrumbing it all the way through this, and Jalen Hurts ends up at Oklahoma. But in his backup season, it was not unlike Kyler Murray's backup season. As a matter of fact, pulled up these stats because I don't have those memorized because, well, I know way more about Kyler Murray than I do about Jalen Hurts for obvious reasons, but I still know quite a bit about Jalen Hurts, and this is my point here. Backing up Tua Tagovailoa, who had the best passer efficiency season of all time by a few decimal points ahead of Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts completed 51 of 70 passes, 72%, 73%, basically 72.9, 765 yards, about 11 yards per attempt, with 8 TDs and 2 picks, okay? In a different offense, in a much more spread Big 12 air raid kind of scheme, right? And we saw that. We know what that looks like. We also know what it looks like for Jalen Hurts to come off the bench and win the SEC title game, a game that Georgia should have beaten Alabama in with his legs and his arm. So when you put Jalen Hurts' season up against Kyler Murray coming in with 1 year of playing at Oklahoma, backing up Baker Mayfield, you're going, Jalen Hurts has played in 3 national title games. He's won 1 national title. And he's brought his team back from the dead in a conference championship game they absolutely had to win. And you're looking at Kyler Murray and you're going, what had he proven up until that to that point, really, except that he could throw as many interceptions in a season of 8 games at A&M as he did in the Heisman season at Oklahoma. And that he's backing up Baker Mayfield. Now, another take altogether about whether or not I think Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, and I do. But staying on course here, if you're taking into account the way that these guys came out of their respective Texas high school football programs, and you're looking at their high school pedigree, it's got to be Kyler Murray by a landslide. Mr. Texas football, undefeated in high school at Allen, Texas, turned Allen into a dynasty of sorts, was a 2-sport All-American coming out of high school, the most decorated high school football quarterback of all time. And yet, following that dude, Jalen Hurts coming out of Channelview, who I genuinely believe would have played another position if his dad was not a head coach at a high school football program, because to look at him is to see a linebacker, is to see a tailback. At about 6'2", 220, every bit of a rock with the powerlifting background. He's big everywhere you look. But he's the son of a quarterback. Or not son of a quarterback, son of a coach who becomes a quarterback. And Kyler Murray, you also have son of a quarterback, right? And I'm looking at the way that these guys were able to lead at their respective programs at the college level. Jalen Hurts was the guy with the immediate success as a freshman. Now, he lost a job to, quite honestly, a better quarterback when you're talking about the tools. But the leadership it matters here. And it matters on a young football team like Oklahoma's this year, where your offensive line is going to be led by a redshirt sophomore. Okay? And you're talking about playing Darrell Simpson and Bray Walker at guard? And you're talking about having your answer at tackle be Eric Swinson? I mean, no shade to those dudes, but they got some growing up to do before we start calling them a great offensive line. And Bill Bedenbaugh has had back-to-back great offensive lines, and everybody believes that you just can't keep going on like this, except Bill Bedenbaugh keeps going on like this with the talent and the way that he's been able to put together these offensive lines. And now you're trying to break in three groups of just three wide receivers who absolutely need the ball, along with CeeDee Lamb on the outside, Charleston Rambo, you think, on the outside. And you're going to have Trey Sermon and Kennedy Brooks there, so you got to have some stability there. But you also have a defense that is learning a new system with a coordinator that thinks that they're absolute trash and that Jalen Hurts is going to have to keep them in a lot of games. Whoever's playing quarterback would have to keep them in a lot of games. And to this point, if you're looking at backup seasons, Kyler Murray's in 2017 and Jalen Hurts is in 2018, Jalen Hurts is going to be your prohibitive favorite. And you might have been talking about Kyler Murray going to play baseball, which is something else entirely, because there was lots of talk, especially on this channel, about whether or not Austin Kendall would have won the job because Kyler Murray was drafted number 9 overall. And if he wasn't drafted number 9 overall, we probably would have a different discussion, but the fact is he was. And maybe he would have pushed himself out the door, believing that he would have eventually lost the job to a guy who had demonstrated that he was SEC Offensive Player of the Year, that he brought Alabama back against a Kirby Smart Georgia football defense, and that he's played in national championship games before, something that even Kyler Murray has never done, will never do. I think also going along with this is Lincoln Riley's ability and reputation for taking anything that is labeled a quarterback and making it into a Heisman Trophy winner. Again, we're taking into account Kyler Murray's season here, but you also got to remember that Kyler Murray was considered damaged goods after that season at Texas A&M. It wasn't like everybody thought that he was going to be the kind of dude he turned out to be. He was labeled a 5-star flameout, and that he was too short, and he was too slight, and all these things that were even said leading up to the draft of him possibly becoming the number 1 overall pick. But I always think that it's interesting to have these conversations because it reminds you of how good a kid is. And as people continue to talk about Tanner Mordecai in a way that doesn't necessarily do him justice, it's also the fact that Jalen Hurts has been there, done that in a way that almost no quarterback in football today has. And that's no slight against Tanner Mordecai, and that's no slight against Kyler Murray. It is to say Jalen Hurts is as special as he seems to be, at least in background. We'll wait and see what that looks like in the Big 12. But at the SEC, under Nick Saban, he was a pretty doggone good quarterback. And I really do believe that that would have been your presumptive starter, and he probably would have had a Heisman caliber season because of the kind of offense that you run at Oklahoma and because of his ability as a quarterback to learn it, process it, and play through it. Now we're going to get to watch this play out in real time, which is really cool, over the 2019 season. But it is something to keep in mind whenever you're talking about Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts and even Austin Kendall going forward, is that perhaps we need to take into account Hurts could be one of the best of all of them, depending on how the 2019 season goes. He could be the best ahead of all of those other quarterbacks, including Baker Mayfield, because he would have won a national championship if he won a national championship in 2019. And I know that's putting the cart before the horse, but it is something I want to put into your brain as we move into the summer and we continue to talk about what the offense will look like and what a quarterback team by Jalen Hurts will look like at Oklahoma. All right, that's it for me. Doses.